Today, we will be having a discussion on sources of energy. We will deal with this topic in three different parts. Coming to today's part, we will be dealing about what is a source of energy, its classification as renewable and non-renewable source of energy, what is a characteristic of good fuel, what is a renewable source, its definition and its example, what are non-renewable source, its definition and example, and what is a thermal power plant, what is an energy classification as conventional and non-conventional energy sources, what is a conventional source, its definition and example, what is a non-conventional source, its definition and an example, and finally we'll be looking on to what is the need for energy. This is all about today's class. Next requirement would be easy to transport. For example, coal, petrol, diesel, LPG have to be transported from the places of their production to the consumers. The next requirement is easy to store. For example, huge storage tanks are required to store petrol, diesel and LPG. Coming to the characteristics of a good fuel. A good fuel should have a high calorific value, less smoke, less residue after burning, easy availability, inexpensive, easy to store and transport. Now coming to the classification of sources of energy. Sources of energy can be classified into renewable sources and non-renewable sources. Renewable sources include solar energy, wind energy, hydro energy, geothermal energy, ocean energy, and the biomass energy. Non-renewable sources include coal, oil, and natural gas. Now, what are renewable sources of energy? Renewable sources of energy are those which are inexhaustible, such that these can be replaced as we use them and can be used to produce energy again and again. These are available in an unlimited amount in nature and develop within a relatively short period of time. To begin with, what is a source of energy? A source of energy is that which is capable of providing enough useful energy at a steady rate over a long period of time. So, there are some requirements for a good source of energy. These include safe and convenient to use. For example, nuclear energy can be used only by highly trained engineers with the help of nuclear power plant. It cannot be used for our household purpose. Now let's look on to the examples of renewable sources of energy. Solar energy, wind energy, hydro energy, geothermal energy, ocean energy, biomass energy that include firewood, animal dung, biodegradable waste from the cities and the crop residues constitute the biomass. These all fall under the renewable sources of energy. Now, what are the advantages of renewable sources of energy? These sources will long as the earth receives light from the sun. These sources are freely available in the nature. These sources do not cause any pollution. Now coming to the non-renewable source of energy. Non-renewable sources of energy are those which are exhaustible and cannot be replaced once they have been used. These sources have been accumulated in the nature over a long period of millions of years. The examples of non-renewable sources include coal, oil, and natural gas. All these fuels are collectively termed as fossil fuels. As how renewable sources of energy have advantages, the non-renewable sources of energy contains disadvantages. Due to their extensive use, their sources are fast depleting. It is difficult to discover and exploit new deposits of these resources. These resources are a major cause of environmental pollution. What are thermal power plants? We all must have heard this word very frequently. Yes, thermal power plants generate electricity from the heat produced by combustion of coal and petroleum, for example, fossil fuels. These coal and petroleum and natural gas produce thermal electricity. This electricity transmission is very efficient. The steam produced by the burning fossil fuel runs the turbine to produce electricity. On this basis, sources of energy are again classified into conventional sources and non-conventional sources. Conventional sources include fossil fuels, nothing but coal, oil and natural gas, and hydro energy, biomass energy, and the wind energy. The non-conventional sources include the solar energy, ocean energy, geothermal energy, and the nuclear energy. Now, what is a conventional source of energy? A conventional source of energy are those which are used extensively and meet a marked portion of our energy requirement. These are fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas, and the hydro energy, which is nothing but the energy of water flowing in rivers. The biomass energy and the wind energy also fall in this category as these are being used since ancient times. Now coming to the non-conventional sources of energy. What are these? These are those which are not used as extensively as the conventional ones and meet our energy requirement only on a limited scale. Solar energy, ocean energy, geothermal energy, and the nuclear energy belong to this category. Ocean energy includes tidal energy, wave energy, and the ocean thermal energy. These sources of energy which have been tapped with the aid of advances in technology to meet our growing energy needs are called as alternative sources of energy. Now coming to the last topic for today's discussion, what is the need for energy? The ability of a body to do work is termed as energy. So, if there is no energy, no activity will occur. Therefore, energy is required in all walks of life. So, what are the characteristics of a good source of energy? It should be able to do a large amount of work for each unit of mass or volume. It should be easily accessible. It should be easily transported. And finally, it should be economical. This is a quick recap about what we had today. In our previous video, we learned about what is a source of energy, what is a renewable source, and what is a non-renewable source. We also learned what is a conventional source of energy and what is a non-conventional source of energy. Now for a quick recap on conventional source of energy. Conventional sources of energy are those which are used extensively and meet a marked portion of our energy requirement. These include fossil fuels, hydro energy, biomass energy, and wind energy. So, our today's discussion will be focused mainly on conventional sources of energy. To begin with, what are fossil fuels? Fossil fuels are the remains of prehistoric plants and animals which got buried deep inside the earth millions of years ago due to some natural processes. These fossil fuels are non-renewable sources of energy and cause environmental problems due to pollution. Now, how do the formation of fossil fuel take place? During its formation, an entire organism or its parts often get buried in sand or mud. These then decay and disintegrate, leaving no signs of their existence. In fact, the harder parts of the organisms after their death settle down and are covered by sediments and subjected to extreme pressure and temperature, or the earth converts them into fossil fuels. The process being referred here is termed as fossilization. I repeat, during its formation, entire organ or part gets buried, then it gets decayed and disintegrated. Harder parts of the organism settle down and gets covered by sediments and get subjected to extreme pressure and temperature. Earth converts them into fossil fuels, and this process is termed as fossilization. So, what are the disadvantages of fossil fuels? Fossil fuels are non-renewable sources of energy, and once used, it cannot be renewed. Burning of fossil fuels can cause air pollution. The fossil fuels reserves in the earth are limited and may get exhausted soon. What are the different fossil fuels? It includes coal, petroleum and LPG. Let's now discuss about coal and petroleum. Coal. Coal was formed millions of years ago. The plants got buried under swamps, and due to high pressure and high temperature inside the earth, they were converted into coal. Coal is the highest used energy source in India. During the days of the steam engine, coal was used in steam engine. Moreover, coal was also used as kitchen fuel before LPG was popular. Nowadays, coal is mainly being used in industries. Now coming to petroleum. Petroleum was formed millions of years ago. The animals got buried under the ocean surface and was converted into petroleum. Petroleum is the third major source of energy being used today. Petroleum products are used as automobile fuel and also in industries. Natural gas mainly comes from the oil wells and is also a main source of energy. Now coming to wind energy. When large masses of air move from one place to another, then it is referred to as wind. During this process, kinetic energy gets associated with it, which is referred to as wind energy. It can be converted into mechanical and electrical energy. Kinetic energy of wind is used in running of windmills, which are used to lift water or grind grains. What are the uses of wind energy? The important uses of wind energy are as follows. It is used to drive windmills, water lifting pumps and flour mills. It is used to propel sailboats. It is used to fly engine-fueled airplanes or gliders in the air. It is used to generate electricity, which are used for various purposes like lighting or heating. What are its advantages? It is eco-friendly and renewable. What are the disadvantages? The speed of the wind is not uniform always. It needs a large area to erect a series of windmills. Big amount of investment is needed. The output is less as compared to the investment. Now let's talk about hydro energy using a hydro power plant. When the water flowing in a river is stored in a high-raised dam and allowed to fall from the top of the dam, the water rushes down with a great force, which can be utilized to drive large water turbines. These turbines are connected with electric generators which generate electric current. The electricity generated in this process is termed as hydroelectricity or the hydel power. In fact, the process involves transference of potential energy of the water into kinetic energy and then into electric energy. It is the most conventional renewable energy source obtained from water falling from a great height. It is clean and non-polluting source of energy. Dams are constructed to collect water flowing in high altitude river. The stored water has a lot of potential energy. When water is allowed to fall from a height, potential energy changes to kinetic energy, which rotates the turbine to produce electricity. What are the advantages? It is readily and abundantly available everywhere, free of cost. It is eco-friendly and does not produce any kind of environmental pollution. It is a renewable source, as water itself is a renewable and inexhaustible source. It is a cheap source of energy, as it does not involve any costly investment. What are the disadvantages? It is highly expensive to construct. Dams cannot be constructed on all river sides. Large areas of human habitation and agricultural fields get submerged. People face social and economical problems. Coming to the biomass. A biomass is defined as a living matter or its residue is a renewable source of energy. The biomass includes all the new plant growth, agriculture and forest residues, carbonaceous waste and the biodegradable effluent from industries. It is the source of conventionally used fuels that are used in our country. For example, cow dung cakes, firewood, coal, charcoal, etc. What is a biogas? It is a mixture of gases produced during decomposition of biomass in the absence of oxygen. Methane is the major component of biogas. Biogas plants. Animal dung, sewage, crop residues, vegetable waste, poultry dropping, etc. are used to produce biogas in biogas plants. Composition of biogas includes methane up to 75%, carbon dioxide up to 25%, and traces of other gases such as nitrogen and hydrogen, whereas methane is a high calorific value fuel and carbon dioxide is an inert gas. What are the advantages? A biogas plant is quiet, simple, and can easily be built in rural areas. A small plant using dung from 3 to 4 heads of a cattle is capable of supplying biogas for 6 hours daily for cooking purposes. Biogas is a clean fuel that burns without smoke and leaves no ash. The main constituent of biogas, ethane, has a higher calorific value than that of petrol. The spent slurry, being rich in nitrogen and phosphorus, is a good manure. By using biogas, firewood is saved and deforestation is reduced. Non-conventional sources of energy. Now let's have a small recap on non-conventional sources of energy. Non-conventional sources of energy which are not used extensively as the conventional ones and meet our energy requirement only on a limited scale. Solar energy, ocean energy, which includes tidal energy, wave energy, ocean thermal energy, geothermal energy, and nuclear energy belong to this category. These sources of energy have been tapped with the aid of advances in technology to meet our growing energy needs and are hence called as alternative sources of energy. Now let's talk about our first energy, solar energy. Solar energy are produced by the sun in the form of heat and light energy. Solar radiations can be converted into electricity through solar cells or photovoltaic cells. Photovoltaic cells convert solar radiations directly into electricity through silicon solar cells. Solar cells arranged on a large flat sheet from a minor solar panel. Solar cookers are painted black from outside and a large glass plate to trap solar radiations by greenhouse effect. Now coming to the advantages of solar cookers. Solar cookers are eco-friendly, renewable and it is used in rural areas and retains all the nutrients in the food due to slow cooking. Whereas there are disadvantages for solar cookers. These include silicon cells, which are expensive, solar radiations which are not uniform over the earth's surface, and it cannot be used at night or on cloudy days. This cannot be used to make chapatis for frying, as these require a high temperature of 140 degrees Celsius or more. Maximum temperature is 100 degrees Celsius, which can be achieved in a solar cooker. Other solar devices include solar water heater or the solar furnace. Coming to geothermal energy. Geothermal energy is the heat of the earth, and it is the naturally occurring thermal energy found within rock formations and the fluids held within those formations. Energy hastened from the heat of the sun is called geothermal energy. Magma is formed when this heat melts the rocks. The rocks and hot gases are called as magma. The magma gets collected at some depths below the Earth's surface. These places are called as hot spots. When underground water comes in contact with these hot spots, it changes into steam, which can be used to generate electricity. Advantages of thermal energy. Thermal energy is renewable, inexpensive, whereas it has disadvantages like it is expensive and only a few sites are available. Coming to ocean energy. The oceans acquire almost 71% of the surface of Earth. The enormous amount of water present in them did not act as a big collector of solar heat energy, but also store large amount of it due to its high specific heat. Thus, ocean water can be used as a renewable source of energy. The main forms of ocean energy are described as under. Ocean thermal energy. The energy available due to temperature difference between deeper levels and surface of an ocean is termed as ocean thermal energy. Ocean tidal energy. The rise of ocean water due to the attraction of the moon is referred to as tide and its fall as low tide. The enormous movement of water due to high and low tide provide a large amount of energy known as ocean tidal energy. This tidal energy can be utilized by constructing a tidal barrage or dam. Coming to sea wave energy. The energy obtained from the high-speed sea waves is referred to as sea wave energy. In fact, these high-speed sea waves have a lot of kinetic energy associated with them, which can be used to drive dynamos, which convert kinetic energy into electrical energy. Energy from nuclear deuterium of oceans. The ocean water contains an unlimited amount of heavy hydrogen isotope called as deuterium, which is an isotope of hydrogen having one neutron in its nucleus. Scientists are working hard to produce energy by carrying the controlled nuclear fission of deuterium isotope. The process is still in an experimental stage. Energy from salinity gradient in seas. The difference in the concentration of salts in the water of two or more seas is called salinity gradient. This salinity gradient is nowadays used to obtain energy with the involvement of suitable techniques. Energy from sea vegetation or biomass. Sea vegetation or biomass is another direct source energy because enormous amount of seaweeds present in the seawater provides an endless supply of methane fuel. It has disadvantages which include uniform tidal action, which is not seen. Now let's talk about nuclear energy, a reaction in which the nucleus of an atom undergoes a change to form a new atom and releases an enormous amount of energy is termed as nuclear energy. There are two distinct ways of obtaining nuclear energy: nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Energy released when some changes take place in the nucleus of the atom of a substance is termed as nuclear energy. It is used for heat generation and fuel for marine vessels. coming to advantages of nuclear energy. The alternative source of energy is due to depletion of fossil fuels. This form a small amount of fuel and a large amount of energy is released. What are its disadvantages? Risk of nuclear waste leakage and high cost of setting up of the plant with polluting the environment are its disadvantages. What are the environmental consequences of the increasing demand of energy? The combustion of fossil fuels produces acid rain and damages plants, soil, and aquatic life. The burning of fossil fuels is increasing the amount of greenhouse gas and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The construction of hydropower plants is a disturbing ecological balance. Nuclear power plants are increasing radioactivity in the environment. Now, what's the difference between nuclear fission and nuclear fusion? It involves breaking of a heavy nucleus into lighter nuclei, whereas fusion involves the binding of two nuclei. Fission is carried out by the bombardment of neutrons over a heavy nucleus, whereas fusion is carried out by heating in extreme temperature. Fission is a chain reaction and is a controlled process, whereas fusion is not a chain reaction and is an uncontrolled process. Fission produces an enormous amount of energy, whereas fusion produces more energy than fission. Fission products are hazardous, whereas fusion products does not cause any pollution. So that's all for today. We learned in detail about conventional sources of energy. With this, we are done with the chapter Sources of Energy. Let's all meet again with another video. Until then, bye-bye. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon. Only then you can receive notifications when we upload a video.